Hello and welcome to Hair in the Hawthorn. My name's Kate Ray, as you know by now, and I'm your host. And this evening on the virtual couch, I am so excited. I'm actually quite buzzing in. It's not just the coffee that's doing this. We have the most beautiful soul and somebody who's no stranger to the paranormal world. I'm just going to read you a little bit about a bio because, believe me, I had to shorten this bio down so much because there is a bag of stuff that this lady knows about and that's into and is working with. So first and foremost, she's put down that she's a psychic medium and a good witch, and I want to talk to her about her practice in witchcraft and what it is to be a good witch. She's also an author and a contributor to over 20 books, which is just amazing. She's appeared on TV and radio, and she's probably best known in this country in the UK for her work on Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans. She's a performer and dancer, which I didn't know about her either, so that was quite a nice sideline to sort of find out about this lady. And she owns the, have I got this right, Brains Brew Entertainment? I definitely want to talk to her about that, because even the name is just it just begs the question of what is it and where is it. She's appeared on many YouTube videos, and I know that for me, I'd seen her sort of popping up on other people's podcasts in the UK, and she's gained in huge popularity here with the UK audience, and it's absolutely no surprise that she has done that. She always comes across with such grace, and it is an absolute pleasure this evening to have Patti Negri with us. So give us a warm welcome to my guest on the virtual sofa tonight. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Kate.
You're welcome.
I'm blushing, but no, I am so happy to be here. I'm just so in love with the UK right now. I just am. You're everything from your accents, which I know you don't think you have, to just everything about it. So thank you.
You're most warmly welcomed, and I think because you're such a lovely, warm person, and on screen you always come across to me very authentic, that is just something that we really adore in the UK. It's somebody who comes across it, you know, as an authentic person, and I definitely want to talk to you about that in your witchcraft, because your sort of your soul sings out about the witchcraft path that you follow. Before we get into the sort of the nitty-gritty and the details of things, though, I asked this of all my guests about where was the starting point for you? Where was the starting point of weird, I think is the way that I want to put it.
All right. I think I was definitively born this way, as many people with the gift are. But when I was a toddler, I would just have these conversations with the other world. Those imaginary friends, so-called, that little kids have weren't imaginary at all. The creature in the closet and under the bed that you think is imaginary, I was getting real information from and playing with. And I had this obsession with the dead, but it absolutely wasn't in a morbid or weird way. So I had to have a seance, and I didn't even know what it was. I was 7 or 8 years old in my little suburban household, closing off all the doors in the hallway where there are no windows, and knowing I didn't know dead people, calling in dead movie stars that a 7 or 8 year old would know. And the room filled with light and orbs and this, and I went, ah, as I screaming out of the house, I went, this is real. And this is controllable by our realm, because I just always knew kind of the difference in the realms. So I've just always been a seeker and spent most of my life figuring out what that meant besides the gift, and studying and cosmologies and philosophies and science and occult science and metaphysics and physics, and take it all down to what I see as energy. And I like oversimplify everything to the nth degree, which makes me very happy.
So how did your family react when you were having these conversations and you were telling them things about your experiences? How was your family?
But they were actually really good about it. My mom, I think I get it from both sides. So my dad's side of the family, my grandfather, quite the opposite, was very famous psychoanalyst, philosopher, writer, hung out with the Hollywood elite, but he was this practically evangelical atheist humanist, didn't believe in anything supernatural, spiritual, or otherworldly. And he wrote all these books about it. So I was raised without any kind of God or spirituality. It just wasn't in our wheelhouse. I would pass a church or a temple or a mosque or a synagogue and see the energy there. And I wanted to go in. And I think I was 13 before I was brave enough to go, can I go to it. Can I go to one of these places? And my mom's like, yeah, you can do anything you want. I became a seeker. So it was never taught out of me like, ooh, this is evil or bad. So that's from my dad's side of the family. And my mom's side of the family, totally clairvoyant. They're from the UK, England, Ireland area. And she's like, oh yeah, grandma always had her mother feared at the end of the bed when something was going to happen. It's just like, it runs in the family. So it was never taught out of me. Like it was, I think everybody's really born with so much more sight than they have. But in our modern society, our modern Western world, we're not a mystical society. Even our religion and spirituality is not very mystical, but it didn't get taught out of me. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I recently said on one of these talks that my belief is everybody's divine, and it's the daily bombardment and the sort of nurture and nature of how we grow up that sort of puts blockers in the way of connecting back with the divine nature. It's interesting that you say you have connections with Britain and with Ireland, and I've recently interviewed Thomas Sheridan, who's from Ireland, and he knows a lot about the Irish sort of mystical culture, and he's an author and a writer. And that is just mind-blowingly different to the rest of Europe. It's just intense. Even now, people will leave out, everybody kind of, yeah, we believe in fairies, we believe in ghosts, and, and everybody's aunt is a mystic and a medium, and it just amazes me. It really amazes me. It's great. So as you were growing up, peer groups as well seem to be, so friends at school, were you a bit of the weird kid, or was it just kind of you fit in and everybody accepted you? Were you out of the broom closet by then?
No, I wasn't. Amazingly, especially for anybody who really knows me now, I was incredibly shy. I actually started like dancing and modeling when I was like 16 years old, but it was different than people at school probably hardly even knew me, in my high school peers and things like that. So I just kind of slowly went to, she's completely the opposite of shy. But no, I do have, if I go back to that world where I grew up, I think the majority of my suburban friends think I've gone off the deep end completely. I'm certainly going to hell. I'm like, but no, there is no hell.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter anymore. I just love them anyway. And your belief system is fine. Yay. It works for you. I love it. It's 100% right. Go. Sadly, everybody doesn't feel that way, their way or the highway. But no, I had one little bit of time in the 80s, I think, young, and I just didn't want the gift. I just wanted to be normal like everybody else. I wasn't in control of all my gifts, like astral traveling and stuff. Even when I was a kid, my mom, going back to that, I would astral travel all the time in my room, and my mom would go, we're going to go meet the Joneses next door. And I went, I was in their house last night. She's like, you were not in their house last night. You're 5 years old. I went, no, I was there. The living room is blue. There's stripes in the kitchen wallpaper. And she's like, okay. But in the 80s, when you're young and you want to fit into everybody, I'm like, I don't want to see things. I would go around wearing hats to keep me in my body, because before I learned how to like control. And I just want to be normal. I just want to be normal. Until that new agey stuff came out. That was like the age of Shirley MacLaine and new age crystal-y white light, which is fun. And I kind of, oh, that is good. But from that, I kind of worked into a little richer, deeper pagan path. That's fun, but a little too squeaky for me. But, oh, look at, there's this very earth-based, elemental-based thing, taking all the good parts of everything, and the rest is history.
That sounds brilliant. So do you see yourself as an eclectic witch? I know that's very much a buzzword right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because I'm very much an eclectic witch, because I'm a Libra and I can't make a decision as to which one it is. But I study all of them. I mean, I started out very Wiccan with the goddess-based religion. And okay, but I want it more of a practice than just a religion or a thing. So I'm practicing. So then I kind of fell in love with really Southern conjure craft and working and root magic, and that's really good. Oh, chaos magic, that's really fun. I like but witnesses and working with the, and then it's like, oh, traditional British craft, which is very different. I love it. Where I'm elemental based, I like that they're earth based, spirit based. They put a whole different compass together. So I just grab them all and put them in one great big cauldron, basically. And they're all right. They all work. And I don't have to make a choice. I don't have to have a title.
Exactly. Yeah. I totally agree. And that cherry picking is something, that the thing is, when people say, oh, I'm a trad witch, I'm a traditional witch, or I only follow Wicca, or whatever the background is, I find that really limiting, because if something works, it's horses for courses, isn't it? If something works, why not work with it? You know, like sort of shutting yourself off to other cultural responses to magic is closing so many doors to yourself. There has been such a resurgence of the craft probably over the last 2 to 3 years, and we see it on Facebook, we see it on Instagram. You know, we are told that it's one of the fastest rising sort of spiritual movements in the UK and in America, and there's been a lot of negativity around that. How do you feel about this sort of this up in people? I mean, the thing about the aesthetic witchcraft, you know, where people have this aesthetic. What's your feelings about this kind of new wave of witches that are coming on board?
Well, what I think it is, I mean, some of it is a fad. You know, some young girl just wants to be cool, like the craft, or like this, or, you know, and dress and wear black lipstick or something. But what's good, and they may or may not stay there, and which is fine. But what it does give, even if it's kind of on a superficial at first, or it's misunderstood, or it's the in thing to do, the thing about the craft is it switches your thinking to actually thinking for yourself, where other belief systems are like, follow us and that's right, you don't look onto your own. Where any form of witchcraft, all of them, it's like, no, you find your truth, not because that person told you, or that preacher, or that guru. So they're getting a taste of that. So even if the fad of all their friends forming a coven in high school or whatever wears off, at least they've been introduced to self-thinking, free thinking. And again, if we are humans, we do silly things. We like that control of stuff. So this versus that. And we're very divided, like sports, this team or that team, politics, this party or that party. So there's something in our DNA that, oh, I'm Wiccan, I'm Strega, I'm this. It's like, but it's going away. And I like that. It's just like, there's a million ways and a million truths, and which is good about our belief system is that it's not the only way as so many other belief systems. Like getting from my house to your house across the ocean, there's a million ways we could do it. We could swim, we could take a boat, we could fly, we could walk on water. And why is one necessarily better than the other? There's a million ways to get there. It's the energy behind it. That's why even in my writing, in my books, I don't care what words you use. You could use traditional Judeo-Christian words or very scientific words like my grandpa. I read my grandpa's books now, and it's like, in this card-carrying atheist humanist, it's like, Grandpa, we believe the exact same thing, only you use science words and I'll use some weird spiritual or but if the through line is the truth. So that's what's coming out. So, you know, we'll take all our human foible twists and turns, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't like it, that's fine too. You know,
yeah. I think with this the raising in sort of, even if it is on the aesthetic level, I think that it brings to the forum as well loads of conversations about what witchcraft is, and raises it up into the forefront of, you know, it is an important spiritual journey. You know, it is very, very much as important to those who are in the craft as Christianity is to Christians. Yeah. And I think for me, if any one of those, and I hate the term baby witch, it really bugs me, but
really?
Yeah, it really bugs me. I don't know why, but if any one of those young and up and coming witches, you know, does stick to the path, you know, that's got to be a good thing. Yeah. And one of the things that came out of that very much was people were very, very worried that these young people, you know, men and women, were going to make mistakes spiritually and in a magical field. I hold up my hands. I've made mistakes. You know, it's when I've come away from something and I've just thought, oh, I didn't put that caveat in, or that was a bit too wide open. But it's through that you actually learn. In terms of your learning, who did you kind of look to? Was it books? Was it the internet? Was it certain people? Who helped you form your way forward?
Actually, as far as books, and sadly he's passed, but I got to work with him once in the 80s. An American author, Scott Cunningham, wrote extraordinarily very simple books. He was like early Wicca, but worked on herbs and oils and spell working and elemental magic and nature magic. And I would devour his books. I'd buy big fancy books on spirituality or occult, and they would sit on my shelf and I'd be like, oh, they're too academic. And I would get a little Scott Cunningham paperback and I would devour it, and I'd learn so much. So he, as far as writing, and he even baby witches that come along, besides getting my book or getting a couple other ones I go back to Scott. Go back to Scott, because it's basic and it's not even so philosophical. It's the groundwork for it. And I did start out, I had a coven of eclectic, even then, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. We were very eclectic. It was a little bit academic, except for me. I mean, it was college professors in the making. But we were from such different backgrounds, from like Jewish background and Hindu background and this. So we were so eclectic, we would literally be doing a Seder for one holiday and a Hindu thing or a Buddhist thing for another. So we've never followed in the lines. We sadly all moved away and it's long past. But it was a really good grounding for me to teach, you know, find your truth here. It's a very wide book. And yes, we make mistakes. And yes, and I teach people, it's like, okay, if it's supposed to be a red candle or a blue candle, it doesn't. But if love, passion, red, pink, love, yeah. But if chartreuse is love, use the chartreuse. Again, it's finding your truth. So if you make a mistake, and we're gonna make mistakes, ooh, that was too wide, ooh, I got kicked back on that. But if your intent is good, then you're fine. Yes, you get kicked in the butt sometimes. But I think if you don't have a sense of moral code, not morality, that's man-made bullshit. But if you don't have a sense basically of right and wrong, good and bad, moral code, then it could be a dangerous path. But I think most people who are led there do. It's not just for the power of I'm going to control the world. That steps into a whole different belief system. You know, but if you have that sense of I should or shouldn't do that, not because somebody told me to, not because a religion told me, going, that doesn't feel right, then you're fine. And you really can't do anything that bad.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's interesting that kind of ties into the kind of the good witch side of things. And for those who don't know the craft, I think it's very much an important thing to be able to, and I don't like you, I don't like titles, but to be able to put forward your positivity. Could you explain what a good witch is? Because people do see it as kind of, even
I know, it's like, what? And because I cannot talk about titles, I don't want a white witch. That means so many things that I don't like. And life isn't black and white. There's all these grays in the middle. But good can mean a lot of things. I'm good at what I do. Good meaning as in positive. And I watched a whole lot of Wizard of Oz growing up. I have the Glenda big puffy dress. I have the crown. So it's like, if you're growing up on Wizard of Oz, I want to be a good witch. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? I say, I'm a good witch. So I mean, it's that simple.
That side of you for me, and like I say, I don't want to linger on it too long, but the Ghost Adventures especially came out, and this when I was talking about your authenticity that comes across very well, is I can't even, you know, I watched back to back the whole Ghost Adventures when it came over here, and I don't even remember what even season it was. But the one where you come across Lady Snake, and that was kind of that nemesis-y type feeling. And I felt that you handled yourself so well in that situation. And it was almost like you could see you pushing out this light into like, this is wrong, there's something not right about this situation. Can you just talk us through, because I think there was there a couple of times
I
when
did a couple different episodes, yeah, both at the museum. And again, the one thing I could say about that show, I love it because you never know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Talk about authenticity. They will blindfold you if you have to. I get an address and I'm flown to it, or I drive to it. I don't know the history. I don't know what happened. There's no little hint. Oh yeah, there was a death in the balcony. Go to the balcony. Nothing. They want it real in the moment. I'm usually a little worried, like, oh God, what if I get nothing? I just sit there going, I don't know. But they're also strong and vetted that you get it. But with the lady snake, the first one, that was what at the museum, and it was very last minute. Flew me out to Vegas. I didn't know anybody was in the building. That's the one we put me in the little gypsy wagon.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anybody else was there. And he just put me in there. He's like, okay, just tell me what's going on here. And I'm like, stream of consciousness. I saw, again, now like my best friend, Father Sebastian, the vampire, you know, passing out. I'm like, somebody's on the floor. I saw Bloody Mary, also now a dear friend, something, a big little girl, baby this, baby this. But I was just seeing all this stuff going on. And then all of a sudden, Zach goes, come with me, come with me. And he puts me in this room with this little unassuming lady who looks like, oh, your next door neighbor. And I walk in and went, oh, this energy. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
She looks like I want to have tea with her, but I don't want to have tea with her. And she really wanted to hit me with this shovel. And it was like the energy in there, it was insane. And again, so I did what I do, and I would do it. I didn't know who she was. I honestly, again, because of that truth, I did not know that that was Ed Gein's cauldron, the serial killer, where he used to cook and eat people, until I saw that show on TV a month or two later. They never told me. No wonder she was so obsessed with that. She's doing magic, and she's bringing out of somebody who used to eat people, doing magic with that. Of course she was going to be that. I can't even judge the real Lady Snake Wendy on that at all. She was being obsessed by that. So that was crazy. And then it happened again last year, the 4-hour live. I was in seventh heaven with that, because we knew we were doing it, not her. But I was sitting there with the best of the best. You know, Chris Fleming was there, and Justin Spurrier, and Joshua Warren, and Josh Gates got to do it, and everybody, Dave Schrader. I'm like, oh, I'm with all these people. This is so cool. And I'm like a kid in the candy store. They put us in the same hotel. We saw each other. We were sequestered in the green room together to not what's going on. No idea. All of a sudden, it's my turn to go in. And will you go down to the basement? And that's before he let people in the basement. And walk down. There she is again. They even kept her in a separate hotel, so she didn't get to see any of, just for that big shock value. It's like, holy moly. And she, oh boy, what she did. Zach doesn't quite get it. She was bringing such chaos. When I walked into that museum, I was seeing these black oozy, Chris Fleming saw him too, and he's on one of your TV shows, Fellow America, these black oozy things. I mean, did you see that? Yeah. And Zach, love him. He wants to dance with the devil. He wants to see the big scary thing up there. So he'll give Lady Snake carte blanche, go do dark magic, do whatever. But what he doesn't understand, it's not you're going to face a big scary thing necessarily. She's going to cause chaos. She's going to do things that mess up cameras. Not that she's doing that on purpose, but when you're bringing that chaos in, and I think it kind of negatively affected that whole show. And besides the fact that ghosts don't understand break for commercial.
Yeah.
They don't. They'd have to go break for commercial. It's a live show, and all the crazy stuff would happen, and then they never went back to it. No one ever got to see the good evidence that Joshua was getting, or Justin was getting, or it was very goofy. But yeah, she was down in that basement kind of screwing things up. Not that that was her intent, but when you let out something like that, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you about the Zach thing. He's so mono-focused on getting those big hits and that kind of big shebang going off that sometimes I do think, whoa, you know, you hold your horses on this. You know, Did you get to speak to Lady Snake afterwards? Did you get to chat to her about anything that
Yeah,
had gone off?
I have, I think a little bit after both, not a lot, again, because it's very sequestered and stuff, but we're like social media friends now. And I'm sure she's, I mean, I can't even speak, a lovely lady of her own. We have slightly different work ethics, and that's great. Again, I'm not a judgmental person because I don't want to be judged. So I'm not, I know I make choices for me, but yeah, we have. So again, and she certainly has her place in this world. We all do.
And I mean,
So,
especially that you were saying that she'd been put in this position where she was with this cauldron that obviously held such terrible energy. You know, it's, even if you are, you know, a grey witch on the sort of slightly darker side, you're going to be incredibly incredibly tainted. You'll have to excuse me, my dog's just jumped down.
it's okay. Hi, puppy.
She'll oh no, she's down again, she's fine. Did they ask you to do any kind of I mean, I would love to go to the museum. I can't imagine what the energy's
you
like.
gotta go. You gotta get the States and you gotta go. Vegas is easy to get to.
Yeah.
It is, besides all the crazy haunted stuff, which you will feel immediately, it's a really well curated museum.
Yes.
It's a beautifully put together. The tour guides are all amazing, well auditioned, vetted out. And it's an amazing experience, even if you're not one of those crazy paranormal people like we are.
Yeah. Were you drawn to anything in particular in the museum? Was there anything there that you just thought, oh, I've got to work with that? Or
I get overwhelmed there. The funniest things about the museum is that Peggy the doll hates me.
Oh no.
When I show up, she starts cursing at me because they have a spirit box in there. It's like, I'm like trying to be all nice. Hi, Peggy. And I'm because I had done a seance with her at the museum. Oh, I can't say those words. You know, there's, you know, young people here. That, and I don't know, each space, it's like a different color. It's a different energy. It's amazing. I actually gave him one piece that was too dark for me. And it's in there, which is cool. I had this in my house. You know, my house is very warded because, well, pre-COVID, I see people here, I do seances here, I see my one-on-ones here. But I had this kind of statue-y thing, very voodoo-y, New Orleans. And I found myself, I'm in my office now, not staying in my office, going, why do I not want to stay here? And I looked around and I pointed to that thing and I went, oh, it's that. Even though I've dealt with it and warded it for 2 years, there's coming out. So I remember calling up Zach and I go, I have this thing and it's too dark for me. Do you want it for your museum? And he's like, ooh, what is it? Send me a picture. So I sent him a picture. Go, ooh, that's a nail fetish hate god. Oh yeah, I want that. Those are bad. Okay. So you know, my next job is going to Vegas anyway. So there it is. And now it's sitting in the museum. The tour guides told me this day I gave it to it, it started acting up. It's great because it's like, ooh, it's like us when we go into our freedom place. You get to, you're respected for who you are, you're wanted for who you are, and I think the haunted stuff feels that way too. There.
Definitely. Do you get experiences with spirits in your house? Because if you work there and you're doing seances, I'm sure you kind of shut down and cleanse up and
yes,
impeccably.
and it's mostly good. Yeah, my husband and I, we have a spirit who lives here most of the time. Her name is Adrienne. She's French. Actually, she was an artist. She this house is a little bit of an ode to her. She owned the house. She bought the house in the 60s. It's a 1920s house. She was born even before that. She bought it in the 60s. She died in 98. My husband and I renovated and moved in 2001, complete with a ghost. And it's a little 1920s Hollywood Hills bungalow. And in the house and in the basement was all her artwork. I have her paintings all over the house that she used to do tie-dye in the 60s. I have that as tablecloths. She was into macrame and she was into pottery, and it's a little ode to her. So it came complete with a ghost. She's hysterical. She's protective. She likes roses. She will take roses out of a vase. We actually got married here, so we renovated, and she was shooting roses out of the vase, and people like, oh, that was Adrienne. They just knew it. People who knew her when she lived in the house. So she's there. And then I have my haunted doll, Belle. I have a little German doll named Belle, who's 105, and she's got a great spirit. She's become part of the family. So here, I've, you know, on occasion had a couple bad things roll in. If I got caught off guard and got to get rid of those real quick. But pretty much it's a well-warded, nicely haunted house. My husband's a drummer, and so he's a collector, and he has vintage stuff. We produce a big drum show. And way up on a high shelf, like 12 feet up that you can't reach, is all these antique drums. So if I'm at a seance, instead of your typical table tapping, it's boom, you get a drum solo. They play by themselves. It's like, he'll go, oh, it's the calfskin puppet. Yeah, on cue. It's great. So it's a fun haunted house. Adrienne occasionally will literally take pictures out of frames where they're still sealed up or move things around. But it's good. She's mischievous and protective.
I would expect as well that you kind of hang around with people who are quite blasé about that kind of thing happening. They're just like, yeah, it's haunted, it's fine.
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah. Has anything ever freaked anybody out that's come round to your house? Has anybody come round and just been like, oh my God, what's happening?
Well, again, when we pre-COVID, when we did seances here around my dining room table, again, because I'm able to really get it dark for people and they could really sense. But again, I've never had things, maybe once. With my old podcast, I got lazy for a second, and my then producer, and we were doing this serial killer seance, a different kind of a show, kind of one of those crime things. And I used the Ouija board without setting it up, and this killer spirit pushed me into the back of my chair, and I heard crack, crack, crack. And I'm literally like sliding down, and she's going, are you okay? And I'm like, no. And I'm always saying I'm okay. You know, my head can be chopped off. I'll be like, I'm fine. But I'm like, no. I heard, and I thought it broke my ribs, but it literally ripped the cartilage off my floating ribs. So you gotta, again, know what you're doing, and you can't get lazy with it. You can't get lazy. So that's the only thing that's ever happened here. Though in my neighborhood, I think my wildest thing, it's another 1920s house. I live in like the first movie enclave, and this house was crazy. Built by Charlie Chaplin for his movie star lover, and then the Rolling Stones manager bought it, so the Stones lived there, Mamas and Papas, Graham Parsons, and then the person who invented the real life sex doll, and then Marilyn Manson, who was my neighbor for 7 years, moved in. So the house attracts creative, chaotic, maybe a little bit dark, and it looks like a haunted house. It looks like it was built by the Masons, sacred geometry everywhere. Oh, there's 12 of those. Oh, there's this. There's literally a compass in the wood floor as you walk in going, this is a ritual house, a 4-level. I was doing a seance there, and again, I'm skeptic, fine, but you have to do respect. This one kid got sort of disrespectful. We had 4 cameras going. We were shooting a documentary about the house, and he kept going. First, cool things were happening, like the French doors flew open. I'm like, whoa. The producer in me was going, wow, that's like special effects, but nothing faked. I'll never. And then that happened again. And then the speakers on the floor, like old school music speaker, came on with white noise. I'm like, everybody's screaming. I'm like, but I'm feeling this energy getting upset because this kid was being a smart aleck and not being respectful. Mm-hmm. And I didn't keep him controlled enough. All of a sudden, we're working the Ouija board and we're getting something really dark that had happened in the 20s. And all of a sudden, not him, but my cameraman facing him burst into flames.
What?
Spontaneous combustion. Boom, up his back, like a V up his back, like angel wings of fire. Everybody's screaming. 2 of the cameras actually caught it. His, of course, didn't catch it. The other one, like, went to the ceiling or went to the floor. Everybody's screaming. All of a sudden, cool, you know, medium witch becomes medic. Patti, which I am, I'm an EMT. It's like, drop and roll. I'm calling in my wards and guardians to shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. And I'm like, we're done. Seance done. I don't care what we're filming. No one gets us on fire on my watch. This is not okay. As I'm looking, the blistering, his shirt burnt off him. But the guy who caught on fire, he goes, no, I'm fine. This is wild. He's a cameraman. He's a filmmaker. He's, I'm okay. I have a sweater. I could take that burned shirt off, and I'm looking at the blistering. And I talked to the spirit. I'm like, you're not even a demon. You're just we're not even going to get rid of you. So he kind of agreed. But I kept up extra warding. The kid got really well behaved, like choir boy behaved. The kid's like, oh, okay. So we finished the seance. A few other crazy things happened, like glasses flying. But the coolest thing about that, and again, that shows the power of spirit, both sides of it, is the cameraman who caught on fire, my friend Laurent. He goes, Patti, look at my back. 3 weeks later, he showed me where the blistering had. It literally looked like he had got a tattoo of a dragon.
Wow.
Sharp teeth, winged head, into the shape of a serpent. And that's the exact energy I called in to shut down the seance. Dragon energy, crossroads energy. I work a lot of I'm like, oh, you have a tramp stamp of a dragon. How cool is that? And he thought it was cool. He actually wrote a script. They haven't done it yet. I hope they do. About a TV psychic who does all the shows, doing yet another reality show, and then a portal gets open. He wrote it with Stephen Norrington, the guy who wrote League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and the Blade series. So I hope they do it because it's about me, but then it turns into a horror film. But I sat down with him for 5 hours. I go, with the script, I go, you can't say that on camera. He goes, well, you said that. I go, I know I said that, but that's going to do something. You can't say that. Let's give some makeup words. Let's say bloopy doopy. We don't want it to be one of those cursed horror films that happen in real life. People don't know they're doing real things that are going to cause energetic changes. So it's called The Portal if it ever comes out, by Laurent Malachi and Stephen Norrington, but they haven't done it yet. He got another really good project. But that's the craziest thing that ever happened. I've had a few crazy things, but spontaneous combustion is the big one.
That's definitely up there. That's definitely up there in the weird and wonderful, definitely. Yeah. And the fact that it happened on camera and in front of so many people, that is just absolutely amazing. Yeah. You said in there about drawing down dragon energy, and again, I need to stop and talk about that, because there are going to be people out there. What? Dragons? Dragon energy? What's all that about?
Dragons. I mean, dragons have been around forever, of course. Dragons, Chinese philosophy, medieval dragons. They're just part, whether you believe they're fire-breathing flying beasts or an energy themselves, it doesn't matter. Like people like angels. Everybody likes angels. Angels are an energy form, and they're dextral, they're pure. Angels literally they're divine. They can do two things: protection and enlightenment. They can't cause change or shift because they have a dextral. They have no sinistral side. But angels are great. Protection and enlightenment. And then we get into fairies, your world. Fairies are great. They bring mischief and music and magic and sparkle. But dragon energy, whatever you believe it comes from, it's crossroads energy. They are at the place of change, of shift. Dragons can fly between heaven and earth. And they are the ones that can create shift. So I really work with people creating literal fetishes or spirits out of their dragon, and it's the best working partner you can have. It's not like your spirit guy. You can't just automatically know, but you tell it what you need, and it works it. And that's, since I've been I don't give anybody, anyway, teaching people about dragon energy, literally, one has stopped an abusive relationship that she couldn't stop no matter what. And it just stopped it. My most funny, famous one is in LA with sports teams, our baseball teams in America. LA Dodgers, big team. They won 20 games in a row 2 seasons ago. And then this magazine, Sports Illustrated, did this special on them, Dodgers, best team ever, and put them on the cover. And they tanked, and they lost 20 games in a row. And everybody, and these are non-spiritual, these are sports dudes, they're going, oh, it's a Sports Illustrated curse. It's the curse, because whenever they do that, the athlete or the team tanks. So I was called in, again, not by woo-woo people, by sports dudes and sportscasters and Dodger, Rodney Peete, Vic the Brick, Fred Roger. And we did this Lebanon Crossing thing, and I got them a little blue rubber dragon, totally turned around, and they won, got to the playoffs. Besides making local LA news, we made ESPN National, which is our national. It's kind of like, here's what the crazy people in LA are doing, but it worked. So again, it's like a great energetic spirit secret weapon. Work dragon, look into dragons.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, that they're definitely a creature that crosses all the elements. They are fire breathing, they are of the air, they are of the earth, and they can be of the water as well. So the full four shebang elemental beings in one, aren't they? And yeah, I mean, it's not an energy that I per se work with. I always find it a bit too big to me. And you kind of mentioned the Fae realm there. We chatted a little bit about it, and I was telling you this is why I'd set up these chats that I've been doing, because of the paranormal world are seeing these creatures. So they're calling out to spirit and in haunted places, and these entities, these beings, these energetic beings are kind of popping in more and more. I don't know whether they're popping in more and more, or whether people are more aware of them now. And for a long time, people would would see the behavior as lesser demonic behavior. You know, the sort of the pinching and the rapping on walls and the knocking things over, you know, and nobody really knew where to put them. And then we seem to have this, especially in the UK, this ripple now of, well, what if it's not demonic, and what if it's not human spirit? Well, what is it? And one of the words that has been bantered around quite a bit is imp, which is a very specific being, and not all these things are imp, but have impish behaviour. In your line of work, doing the mediumistic side of things, do you come across beings that you find difficult to categorise, that you find difficult to sort of say, this was once human, or this is from demonic, or this is from angelic? Have you come across that?
Yeah, and I do, and of course we do, because we only know our realm of thinking, what we've been told. So we're going to turn it into, like, if we were born with this, oh, that's a demonic, or that's a there. We understand fairies. Oh, now we're understanding ETs, and again, that could be another form of whatever. I explain to people, even at my seances, like, you're going to get ghosts and spirits, people who are dead humans, usually crossed over and fine. Some occasionally they're that shade who didn't know they're dead, and those we send to the light, not that bad. And then it's not a residual haunting. We get that. That's the lady at the bed and breakfast who walks by every hour. That ghost doesn't have to do that. That's just like video. But I go, and then there's everything else. That's the things that were never human. That could be the angelic, demonic. That could be the elemental, the fae, the dragon world, and all those things that we don't, you know, we can get into this. Is there Bigfoot there? I don't know. Is there this? All those otherworldly beasts that we've seen and known about forever, but they aren't in our realm to see. And some of them we don't know how to put labels on, because it's like a blind person who hasn't seen. You don't know how to. So I honestly think we start creating it by what we know. But yeah, I certainly can't put a label on it. Everything. It's like, okay, it feels good to me. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've often said about specifically the fae that labels are a very human thing. We've already established that, and categorization is a very human thing to have control over the world and see yourself as a above nature, I suppose. And the elementals and the fae, for me, they don't know what they're called. Pixie doesn't know it's a pixie. It just exists, you know. It just is. It's like a snake going, "Hi, I'm a snake." You know, it just doesn't happen. And I think one of the complex things is because these are made of pure energy, and their material sort of nature, when they come into a material realm, they can kind of come as what they want, and oftentimes they will show themselves in a way that we can understand them. So they'll show themselves as pretty things if they have a sort of a good nature, or, you know, not so pretty things if they're a little on the darker side. And it's incredibly difficult. And I think that's in the paranormal, in the ghost hunting world, that's something that has been really difficult for people to accept. I don't know how to get around that. I don't know.
It's because, yeah, it's because we want to label, because we want to understand this is this and this is that. But you know, we're working in a world that's a different world, and we don't, it's so much of the unknown. And I'll go back to, you said you didn't know if we were noticing it more or it was happening more. I think it's both. I do believe the veil is thinning. The division between our three-dimensional world and that other world is getting less and less and less. So more and more unexplainable or paranormal or mystical things are going to happen. Literally, as we move into that age of Aquarius, they sang about in the 60s, where it's not our parents' world of black and white and right and wrong and yes and no. Nope, it's just moving like that. So we're going to see through things. So
yeah,
only the best is yet to come.
I definitely think so. I think the age of Aquarius it always gets that song in my head, that very sort of hippie 60s song. I didn't really understand it. I kind of brushed it to one side as too way out hippie for me up until recently, and I started to look at the shifts through the zodiac over the start of time, you know, and how that affects culture and growth and everything about being human. And I'm like you, I can definitely feel it, and especially with the state of play with what's going off globally right now, it's like there seems to be for however much there is obviously horrible things going off, there seems to be raises in vibration in people, that people are wanting such good things to come out of this. And I think that's amazing, that collective sort of consciousness is raising. And I think that is, as we're going towards the age of Aquarius, that we're going to see more and more of that, and weird things happening on a almost regular basis to normal people. In terms of talking about weird, I mean, you've said about and I don't know whether I can get much weirder than a guy spontaneously combusting and ended up with a dragon tattoo. Is there anything that's been outside your, outside of your understanding, outside your scope, that you've kind of come across? Or I mean, for me, it would be that scene in Alien. I would be like, whoa, this is way outside of my comfort zone. Is there anything that's been really super weird?
Yeah, I actually, and this was a couple of years ago, one of my teacher's mentors, Maximilien de Lafayette, he's a linguist. He speaks 21 languages. Most of them are ancient, like ancient Sumerian. And he's also one of those ET guys, which I'm not, because even for weird me, some of that's a little too weird for me. You're not saying it's not real, it is, but I'm not going to go to MUFON probably. But anyway, I've been doing seances since I was 7 or 8, and spirits will come and elementals will come. And I think I actually saw some extraterrestrial type when I was a kid. But he gave me languaging to use, this ancient Sumerian, which I guess is Anunnaki language, the Anunnaki, for those of you who know that world, and sigils and symbols. My first one I was with a lady actress, pretty well-known actress, in deep in my backyard. And we're doing this and we're calling this in. And this whole being, nothing energetically like I've ever seen, showed up in my backyard. It's like, oh, yeah, you're not a fairy, you're not a dragon, you're not a ghost, okay. It was this off-world thing. And then we did it again. And I had a group, I think there was seven of us, plus or minus one. And we were all working mediums. Everybody, and we decided to do the same kind of thing. Craziest thing happened, Kate. We use these words, we use these symbols, and all of a sudden it should have been filmed, it wasn't. We became like a generator, like weird movements from this side of the table, from that side of the table, somebody else, sounds would be coming out, and all of a sudden we were creating this generator. And then this thing came in, literally laid this arm across my table, and then one girl starts channeling one of those, like you hear those alien voices, but all positive. It was like, and this and the grid lines and all that stuff, they have so many of them talking. It's like, this is weird. Okay, because this is out of my wheelhouse, this is out of, and it was pretty cool. I haven't even done that since, because we're all sort of spread out again. But that's an intriguing world I don't understand much. But it's a little scary because I don't understand much. I like having the left brain knowledge of how to deal with demons and this and that. My lifetime of study. I don't know if there's a nasty alien. I don't know.
I mean, there are theories out there, and I do like the fact that we are more and more looking outside of the paranormal world into sort of, and I've said this quite a few times, into cryptozoology, and the paranormal world joining up with the ufologists and the fairyologists to kind of think outside the box. And there is growing theories that there's layers of dimensions, and these interdimensional beings can access in very similar ways. So if you are having a seance, who's to say that you're not going to start channeling interdimensional alien type beings? I came across this, somebody had said to me a few weeks ago about and I'd never come across this, there's this theory out there that Bigfoot's a fairy, that he's actually an interdimensional creature, like a dragon or like a troll, that kind of crosses over from his realm to ours, and we see him as material in our realm. And I just suddenly went, oh my God, that would make so much sense, where you have these footprints and then nothing, and it sort of disappears. So are you in LA now? Is that sort of, that's where you live? I mean, because that's a hotbed of strange anyway, isn't it? Is there any?
And I love it. Energy is too much for some people. I literally live in the Hollywood Hills, right by that famous Hollywood sign. It's right there. I understand why Hollywood is right where it is, not 50 miles. There's an energy vortex in those Hollywood Hills near the sign. It's a super, super strong energy vortex. It's not marked. There's nothing. I just sensed it. Every time I've been there, there would be lovers kissing or nuns praying. It just pulls in that right brain creative. I think it itself called in the creative people. That's why Hollywood, the actors, the musicians, the writers, the spiritual. In my little Hollywood house, I've got a monastery, I've got a Vedanta, I got a theosophy. We are surrounded by these spiritual things and then creative artists in all the studios. And it's all surrounded this energy vortex. It's crazy. So some people come here and go, I can't handle this town. They think it's the energy or the pace. And some people go, oh, nothing to do with the pace or the traffic. You know.
Is there any local legends then around there because of that energetic level? And when you have, melting pots of creatives, you get. Have you got any of those kind of classic local legends? Maybe I'm not that knowledgeable about sort of American folklore, but is there anything around and about that you know of?
Well, what I like about, again, because we're a new city, Los Angeles is compared to nothing like Europe or New York. Again, we're newer than that because we started with the Old West. What I like about our paranormal world is that we have happy ghosts. We're like on all these like paranormal shows, you're going to go to the prison and the insane asylum and the serial killers. Ours hang out at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel with the first Academy Awards, or the Hollywood Athletic Club, or Hollywood Forever Cemetery, or the American Legion. So we have fun partying ghosts, which is great. We do have our lore, like this one the Hollywood sign itself. There's a whole legend of Peg Entwistle killed herself on it, and she did. And I've felt that energy. And I think part of the energy so we have these. We don't have very ancient ghosts. Like when I was in France once, and I can't wait, I'm going to Ireland next year doing a tour thing. But I was like, oh wow, such ancient ghosts here. In Hollywood, we don't get ancient ghosts because we weren't here.
Yeah.
But we do have ancient Native American grounds here. So a lot of the chaos here, or a lot of the places that get really haunted that aren't because they're Hollywoody, they're getting that very elemental Native American, good and bad. But that's why a lot of LA is charged as well, other than the vortex. Or maybe that's even what brought the natives here, that vortex, because they're attached to the land. They are in tune with the land.
Yeah, definitely. Have you worked with Native American energy in your witchcraft? Is that something that you've brought into it?
A little bit I do, because it's so similar. It's a very almost the same elemental system. They're very elemental based. They have a couple of grandmother and grandfathers that we don't have. But I will work with a lot of their herbs and oils. I have some native drums. I haven't, and I will go to whatever you call their gathering circles. I haven't like jumped in full as following that path, but I think mine is kind of crazy similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's something that I've never really considered looking into, and I suppose that's because I'm British, that sort of the Native American side doesn't really kind of
extraordinarily similar.
Okay.
Very earth-based, because they were people of the earth and they were in tune with it. Just like going back to old England and the whole pagan thing. They're in tune with it.
So you just mentioned that you are coming across and doing a tour maybe next year. Can you say any more about that?
Yes, I can. I'm advertising it, and we're close to full. I'm doing with this thing called, they're kind of haunted tours, Secret Ireland tours. We are doing a Game of Thrones castle tour. It's 10 days. I can't wait. And it's run by her name's May Herman. She's Irish and she lived and grew up there. Everything. You're with the right person to be tour guide, not just some random tour guide. And we're going to all these castles, and I'm going to be doing seances and investigations. And there's some cool people who've signed up for it already. Because I have not I like to travel, and I've traveled here. I've been to France a couple of times and loved it. I've been to Greece, loved it, Australia, but I haven't been to England. I haven't been to the UK. I haven't been to a lot of old places yet versus ancient, And I can't wait to really feel it. And everywhere we're staying, we're not staying in a Sheraton or a Hilton ever. We're staying either in a castle or a little Airbnb off of Dublin. So
you're going to love it.
21. Again, everyone's welcome, and it's going to be a heck of a party.
You're going to love it in Ireland. You're going to love the energy, and get yourself out when you're out there. The place is littered with stone circles and Neolithic burial mounds, and it's just like literally every other farmer's field has got a fairy fort or a fairy tree in it, you know, that will never be cut down. It's just one of those places that it's, you know, you go into somebody's back garden, they've got, you know, some kind of Neolithic stone in there, you know. It's crazy for stuff like that.
Wait. Again, because it's so opposite of America.
Are you coming to the UK then? Are you coming to
I haven't
Britain?
figured that out yet. I don't have my travel plans. That trip is 9 days, and I'm trying to figure, it would be smart to go to the UK either just before or just after. But then that little get home thing is like, can I be gone from home that long? I don't know. I'm trying to work out, because I'm gonna get to the UK next year. So whether it's on that trip or a separate trip, you know, we just have to.
Well, if you come over, I'm sure that Barry Guy won't mind me saying this, but you've got to come out with the Ghost Finder Paranormal crew.
I will definitely. I will. And we got to get you to LA, and I'll show you all our fun Hollywood ghosts.
I would absolutely love it. What else have you got planned? What's the future for you?
Hopefully TV comes back soon. Because I was getting, besides the Ghost Adventures, what everybody sees, I do a lot of other stuff. I have this thing I do with Trevor Moore, who's actually a comedian. He has this talk show where he tries to save the world 1 hour at a time in a comedic way. And I'm kind of his like psychic sidekick. We were just getting ready to start filming again, and quarantine hit. Studios it's still a ghost town in Hollywood. They're still trying, you see empty Universal Studios, empty Warner Brothers. They're trying to figure out how to do it with the protocols, but it's a slow back. So I hope that comes back soon. But I've been living on like Zoom like this because I go crazy not going out. I'm teaching a lot. I'm teaching like $10 magic classes online for House of Intuition. I have people all over the world in them. I go, that's the one good thing about this internet. It's like, you don't have to drive. We're right here. So I'm doing a lot of teaching to keep from going crazy. I've done a few live things. Few things at David Oman's house. That's that Sharon Tate house. You guys, we did a live thing there a couple of weeks ago. We actually did one real Paracon, Virginia City Paracon last month, where we did follow the protocols, and it was Nevada, because in LA you can't have a gathering like that. So, but we were able to do it, and I did 2 seances for like 50 people. And again, old Western town, which is our ancient cities. So I'm getting out a little bit like that. I've got a couple coming up. I'm doing the Slaughterhouse. For those of you seen Ghost Adventures, that's that scary one, the Slaughterhouse, where Post Malone did with Zach. Yes. I'm doing a whole investigation there in November with some really cool people.
Excellent. And you've also got we've got to say about the Festival of the Unexplained, which is...
Oh yes, the festival. You explained that. I'm so excited.
I am super excited. I did my little promo bit yesterday, and honestly, it took me about 150 takes to even get it out of my mouth because I'm so excited about doing it. It's a 36-hour sort of power. So I can't even talk. I'm that excited now.
He's calling it a parathon, which I've never heard, like a marathon, a parathon.
Yeah, that's the one. 36 hours.
I'm posting yours because I did my little video. I'm going to post yours next to mine. That'll be
that would be brilliant. Because I was really nervous because yours had come out yesterday, and she asked me to do mine, and I was like, I didn't want to see your promo because I'm rubbish at I'm absolutely rubbish. I'm thinking Patti's is going to be great. Don't watch it till afterwards. And it is. Yours is absolutely lovely. It's adorable. And all the way through, I mean, I had the dog snoring in the background, and in the end, I was just like, let's just do it. So anyway, the Festival of the Unexplained is the 24th and 25th of October, 36 hours of people talking. It's going to be questions and answers. It looks like it's going to be people doing little lectures on stuff, little workshops on stuff. So it's everything that we can't do at those para conventions that you know, because of the lockdown conditions are all over. And it's free. It's absolutely free. It's awesome. And I know the last one that they did was a massive hit. There was you know, there was a massive engagement with people, but I think this one's going to be absolutely huge. I think it's going to be a lot bigger, and I am so, and to be you know, doing it with somebody like yourself is just woo. It's super exciting.
You're adorable. I'm a new friend. Yay.
Yeah, definitely.
Like
definitely.
Energy.
just before we kind of wrap this up, because I don't know where this time goes, I really don't. I wanted to talk to you just a little bit. Well, actually, I wanted to talk to you quite a lot about the book. Let me get this right. Old World Magic for a Modern World. Did I get that right? Yay!
That's
It's
right.
there.
That's
It's there. I'm so going to get a copy of that. I am a bibliophile. I
Oh, good.
love
Yeah,
books.
if you were here, I would hand it to you right
Oh,
now.
bless you.
But it's easier to get it on Amazon because me sending it gets a little crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would hand it to you.
Oh, bless you.
This, it's super simple. I spent I wanted it like going back to that Scott Cunningham, simple, readable, understandable. I spent as much time unwriting it as I did writing it. I wrote it and I went, too many words, and I just get rid of half of them. So it's done really well, like in 5 countries, bestseller. So it's basics. You don't have to be a witch. You don't have to be a psychic, but it's all about empowering your life. Because we give away our power to everybody and everything. So it's graphic back, and there's love, there's weight loss, there's magic, there's this, and there's philosophy and 30-second things to do, because I'm always in a hurry. So yes, it is great to meditate for an hour. I don't have an hour, I have 30 seconds. So I'd come up with elemental mind, body, spirit, 30 seconds, pull it together.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like just, yeah, definitely go and check it out on Amazon. I'm going to get myself a copy. By the end of all these chats that I've been doing, I will have double my library, because everybody I speak to comes along with just the most amazing books that I'm like, I've got to get that.
I've got my little thing right over here of friends' books and associates' books. It's like, oh, this is a book, the voodoo book.
Yeah. And I've met, including yourself, some amazing people, and everybody seems to write. Everybody seems to have this book in them as well. And like I say, I'm addicted. I'm addicted to buying books. So it's definitely going on the Amazon tonight. Yeah, this has been amazing. It's probably the quickest, literally just under an hour that it's ever gone by with one of these chats, and I think you were right about the energy levels. I'm a Gemini, so Libra Gemini energy together, it's sapped time, doesn't it? 5 minutes turns into an hour. It is how it goes. I want to thank you so much. It's been awesome, and I know please keep in contact. I know we're doing the I'm gonna get this wrong all the time. The Festival of the Unexplained. I know we're doing that together, but
it's a long title.
It is a long time. I don't know why. I think it comes out of my head because I'm visualizing it and I can see the X. Because it's explained, unexplained, isn't it? And there's a big X in it, and that just, I'm a visual person. But anyway, yeah, it does. It does, and it just.
Sigils, we do it. They subconsciously affect us.
Definitely.
Well, it has been an honor to be here. You are just adorable. So thank you. Yes, let's definitely keep in touch. New friend, I'm here in Hollywood. I'm going to get you on my show.
Brilliant. Let's do it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.